sparkling water electronics, you know.
It's pretty fun.
So, I think I'll just give a small intro real fast. This talk is going to be a weird one. We were asked to come over here and talk, like have a joint talk. And as most of you are students, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I thought that instead of us talking about like going into sound detail, talking about sound design and stuff, and music and stuff, it would more be like us talking about how we got into video games as sound people. Like, how many of you are actually interested in sounds in games, music and stuff? Cool. Wow, that's really cool. This is like a small man. Turtle. Yeah, I like to write on notepads.
Maybe you should introduce yourself.
So cool. Should I do my stuff first?
Have you guys heard of a game called Nuclear Throne?
Have you guys heard of a game called Hotline Miami? Okay, let's go through this. Okay, so first, I'm just gonna be. Well, I'll talk about my past first, then let's talk about your past, and then go on from there.
Sounds good.
So, are you guys ready for a boring tale of my past?
Yes.
Yes. So, I start from, like, literally I'm gonna be starting from when I was a small kid, like that thing. That's my little head. Okay. So, how I got into games. As a tiny toddler means kid. As a small kid, I played a ton of games. Like, the first game I probably got, I was 3. It was this watch thingy with a ninja throwing stars. Like, I don't really remember it, but my dad is like, hey, do you remember that game? Yeah. Apparently I lost it or something, I don't know. And as a kid, I was always really interested in board games as well. Like playing Monopoly, Risk. Like, I was probably like 5 when I played Risk for the first time. I didn't understand anything from the game. I probably like 8 them or something. That was pretty risky, right? Yeah, dad jokes. This is really fun, by the way.
I really hope you're not going to make me be as funny.
Yes.
To be setting the bar really higher.
Then I played a lot of like yard games, like outside with friends. Like I had maybe like 2 friends. No, I just made them up. You like play, you know, tag, and have you heard of like? Have you guys got this game in Norway? Like, like these people are like the cops, and these are like the bad guys, and they have to like get the cops. Yeah. Otherwise, we go and steal their Nintendo. No, I mean, just, you know, fun. Like, we played those kind of things, kind of made our own rules. Then we made it into Alien vs. Predator at some stage, because that, like, when those games and movies and comics came out, it was like, woohoo, cool. So we were kind of weird kids, nerds. Played lots of card games, like Magic the Gathering. Then at some point, Pokemon card games came out. Like, at first, like, when Pokemon came out, Jesus Christ, that was crazy. So we just collect the cards. Oh, you can actually play with this. And started to play with them. Starting betting money as like 8-year-old kid. Don't tell anyone. So played tabletop RPGs, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. You know, as a kid, we weren't that cool. It is cool. Then we kind of started making our own games. Cause I had a cousin who was like, I don't know, he's like 3 years older than me. Like, as if you would know. Like,
why are you looking at me? Your cousin. That's right.
Yeah, that guy. Like, he was heavily into like modifying RPGs and card games and stuff. I was like, oh, it doesn't read into the rules. And he was like, I don't care about rules. Okay. And then I kind of got into like modding those games as a kid, but Also, as a small kid, what kind of, I think, might have kind of pushed me a bit towards some stuff is, like, where my grandparents lived, like, cottage kind of thing. They had this old, like, 286 computer. Do you guys remember being kind of new? Cool. Cool. I like how I had to correct myself, because I suck at writing. Yeah, I kind of noticed, it was like MS-DOS times, there was no Windows back then. Well, there probably was, but we were poor as fuck, we didn't have it. Okay. Oh, can I, sorry if I'm swearing, by the way, like, is this, how old are you guys? Like,
it's okay.
Oh, phew,
All the teachers do too.
Ah, yes, okay, cool.
Are you really kidding?
Yeah. So, yeah, I kind of managed, I can't even remember, it was that long ago, like 2 weeks ago. That's when I was a kid. I kind of made the computer do like beeps. I don't, even to this day, I'm pretty sure MS-DOS didn't have like an inside tracker or something. I just don't know, but I found different nodes by beeping. Like, just like, do you guys know what a tracker is in music? It's like this software, you can write notes, it goes like, that was a really vague explanation of trackers, but you get it. Kind of, I guess it was like, maybe it was a tracker or something, but I remember I found like, I was writing stuff like, oh, C4, like, that's not C5 and stuff. It's like, whoa, it's making a beep. Then I made like sequences, wrote them on like small piece of paper. Like, I actually had a pad full of like, they probably didn't even sound like music, but to me back then it was like amazing shit. But then I kind of, like, it was like one summer thing. It was like my summer loved that computer then. And then I forgot about that. I kind of accidentally made like tunes as a 8-year-old kid, but that probably sounded like crap, but it was cool. Then later on, as a kid, I went into a game club thing. Game club thing. You know, it can sound like something different, but still cool. Where people played like Amiga, with an Amiga or Commodore, or even 486 computers, Jesus. And you like playing, you know, Jazz Jackrabbit, stuff like that, Contra, whatever. There was this one cool alien game, what was that called? Oh, whatever. But over there was like these older kids making music on a computer that looked kind of similar to what I did as a like tiny toddler. I was like, woohoo, what is this? They had something called Fast Tracker. I was like, whoa, fuck, sounds fast, that's really cool. And then I kind of like lurked around, looked at it like, oh, I want to do that stuff. But then I was too young and dumb, and I was too afraid to ask them what they are doing and so on and so on. So that kind of still planted that seed in my head that people are actually doing something with computers, like music-wise, that I kind of was vaguely interested back then. And then at the same time, I had this demo CD with a game-making software called Click and Play. You guys heard of this?
Yeah.
Woohoo! It's pretty shitty. Nah, it's good. And I remember I was like, what is this? This is the shittiest game ever. Like, I open it, click and play. Where's the play? I was like, I can like drag shit. Like, what is this? Then I realized, wait a minute. Is this how video games are made? Like, I'm dragging stuff. Skateboarder guy, like, well, it's not doing anything. And then I kind of learned, like, I don't even know how. I got like the skateboarder guy to move, and I pressed arrow buttons and stuff. It's really cool. It kind of planted an idea in my head. And at the same time, this older cousin was into mud games. You know, mud. They're like these things that you see a tree, go left or right, and you type like left or right. And then it gives you another thing that says, you see nothing. Like, cool game. But then he kind of taught me how to write these instances myself. And I was like, whoa, shit, I'm making video games now. And that was like cool for like 2 weeks, because that's how long my attention span is.
What age is this?
This was like age 10, 9 or 10, something like that. And then that kind of, I forgot that. Then I started, actually, sorry. Then after like these times, I got back into trackers when I was like maybe 11 or 12. I found a tracker called Modplug Tracker. And I was like, tracker, wait, is this like a music thing, like the fast tracker I saw like years ago? I'm like, oh, cool. Then I downloaded, back then we had like a Pentium computer with internet. Shit, the internet was huge. Not anymore back then. It was amazing. I got Modplug. I started ripping off sounds from like Counter-Strike. But Counter-Strike came around then, I think, like 1.3 or something, I don't know. And I was like putting like sounds, making like drum beats of like bomb has been planted, and my dad was like, dude, stop this, it's awful. I was like, okay, sorry. And no, but actually, he was cool with it. I was just kind of, I sucked. Okay. Then right after trackers, again, like maybe like 3 weeks, attention span, skateboarding. I started skateboarding, and I skateboarded for many years, and from skateboarding I got into punk music. Then I was like, oh, fucking punk music is the coolest stuff ever. And from punk music I was like, what if I start playing an instrument? I kind of wanted to play, I want to be like, back then Ramones was like the hardcore punk for me. I'm like, I want to be like them, yeah, really scary and stuff. Then like I picked up the bass. I wanted to buy a bass guitar and start playing that. But then playing bass guitar. And then my friend was like, no. My friend was like, yeah, I have a bass guitar to sell. I was like, cool, I'm gonna buy it from you. But apparently it was a guitar, not a bass guitar. So I was like, okay, cool. I started playing guitar. Like maybe 2 months, I already like wanted to form a band. I started like playing in bands. And this is going to like rapidly now go towards where I'm now. I started playing in bands, and the bands I played in, they started playing live shows, and then from live shows, we needed someone to mix our live shows, you know, mixing like, drums are too loud, put them down, lift the guitars and stuff. So I started doing that, like on our own shows, mixing our bands, like my band. Then other bands were like, hey, who's doing the sounds for your gigs? I was like, me. Do you want to do sounds for our gigs? I was like, yeah. And then I started mixing our bands live, like concerts and stuff. Then we started making demos with my band. And I was like, okay, I can't record our demo. I'll just learn this shit. And then I learned that stuff. Other bands were like, who's doing your demos? I was like, me. Well, can you do our demo? Yeah. Then from demos, we went to albums. I did my own band's albums. I had like multiple bands back then. And then these people were like, who's doing your albums? Like, it wasn't like, it was like, yes, I'm gonna do your stuff. So I got into that. Then from music, I was kind of, also I played video games all this like time as well, really nerdy, well, and from like video games, I always was interested in the sounds, like shooting, like, that's probably why I ripped the CS sounds into a tracker. I was like, the gun sounds and shit, it's so cool. And I was like, okay, now I know this music stuff. I know how to use software. I kind of understand how sound works a bit. And I was interested in game sounds and movie sounds back then. And then I was like, okay, I want to do this. So I applied for a school. It took me like 3 to 4 years until I actually got into the school. And then like, same time when I got into school, I was kind of getting into, my friend was like, hey, have you thought of making your own games? I was like, oh yeah, I used to be really interested. I did like mud shit and so on and so on. Like not mud shit, you know, but the games. Mud games. Mud shit. And I'm actually laughing about that. So bad joke. I like it. So from when I got into schools, I started making my own games. Then I was in a sound school, like which was for movie sound production or multimedia in general. And at the same time, I was making my own games. So I was making sounds for my own games, and people were like, "Who's doing sounds for your games?" Me. And they were like, "Oh, cool. You want to do sounds for my game?" Yes. So I started making like sounds to my friends' games, like from different forums to people's games. Then I heard of game jams. I started going into game jams and so on and so on and so on. We started running game jams in caps, important. And from school, I had to do an internship thing. So I did internship in a studio, sound studio. And over there, I was recording like bigger bands, helping like movie sound production stuff. And from there, I got I met this person, Janne Haavisto, who asked me, do I want to join another studio as a like shareholder or like co-own a studio with like 24 other people, so it wasn't like that special. But so I was like, yes, like my own studio, fuck yes. So I took that. Then I started taking like my game stuff over there, like voice acting stuff and so on, because I'm really into that as well. Then at the same time, this like late school stuff, I started going to events. I was like, I'm going to do video games after school. So bad. I was like, okay, how do I meet more people who actually like make money out of games? So I started going into stuff like, I found out about IGDA, and apparently you guys have it here as well and around the world. So I started going to IGDA meetings, and
What's that?
Intergalactic Deaf Alliance. I can't even remember what it's called. Independent Game Developers Association. International. Yeah, it's independent, you know. It's fuck AAA, you know. They're cool. So, and then I heard of a thing called Indie Beer that we have in. That's what I was thinking about independence. And I heard of this other thing we have called Indie Beer, where Petri Purho made this event called Indie Beer, where like the indie developers of Finland or Helsinki kind of meet up once a month as well, and we just like drink beer and talk about pretty much everything else than making games. But from that way, I kind of started meeting new people and finding people with like shared interests and just kind of getting involved in games. Sorry, this is by the way really too long. My talk. I'm trying. Okay, well, I'm gonna skip forward. Finishing school. I decided, like 2 years of school. Okay. Finishing school. My mindset was that I only want to work in games. I don't want to do like music stuff. I don't want to do movie sounds. I don't want to do like work at a shop or like cleaning or something. I just want to do video games, like sounds for video games, voice acting for video games. And it was kind of risky because I had like after school I didn't have like anything, like any other money than my student loan, like what was remaining, because I actually didn't even spend that much of it. So I had like my student loan and like unemployment money right after school, and I was living with those, just trying to find like game work, going to events. Like this is probably not the best advice, but it's still some kind of advice. Bum advice. Wait, like bum as in, you know, people who sleep, of course.
More ass jokes.
But yeah, this is a risk by doing what I did. I was like, okay, I just head first in games. Don't even think about anything else. So I went to events. I spent like all my savings on going to events and paying rent and bills, barely eating food, which clearly isn't the thing these days. It's actually all weird, but yeah. So yeah, I did that for like a year or so, just like barely scraping by, or a year and a half. But then from there, I started meeting new people, and like from new people, I met new people, and other people, and these people, and these. I guess there are people and stuff like that. And then I kind of finally reached the point where I was meeting people who made commercial games, and they needed sound design for the games. And true story, I was sitting in a bar. I'm like talking to someone that, okay, I kind of want to do sounds for video games, and they were like, wait, we're making this game, and we need a sound designer, like just randomly in a bar. And I was like, okay, cool. And that game turned out to be a game called Badland. If you've heard of this game, I don't know. Yeah, that turned out to be Badland. Like, sitting in a bar, drinking beer, being like, I don't want to work on games. And someone's like, hey, work with us. So we made Badland, which became a pretty huge success. Like, right now it's like being like downloaded, just bought like 70 million times in just Western, like probably China and stuff, like 50 million times. So that like became a giant hit. I was like, fucking hell, like my first commercial project made pretty well. But at the same time, when I was doing Badland, I was doing a game called Crane Physics Deluxe, and The Swapper, another game called Angry Birds Seasons, Mushroom. Suddenly I was like, because I went to events, people already knew me, and they saw that, okay, I'm working on commercial projects. So they were like, maybe he's doing something cool, let's try him. And like, I did sounds for all these like really super cool games actually became pretty good like successes. Then after some time, like people would know me, like that was like the Finnish scene. Then from the game jam side, I did like all the game jams. There was like companies like Beer. I don't know, do you know a game called Nuclear Throne and stuff like that. And like from this other side, when I was doing like when I was studying and stuff, I did these game jams. Over there, people were like, "Hey, we are doing this new game. Do you want to join us and make this game?" And like those became to be like Nuclear Throne. From Nuclear Throne, I got into doing stuff for Broforce, so on and so on games. And then kind of these two combined, people are like, bigger companies were like, hey, wait, you are doing this and you did these things? I got into doing like, the lead sound design for Angry Birds Transformers. Oh man, I almost just spilled a few NDAs. Some NDA games. And so on and so on and so on. And now pretty much, I work at the studio where I was an intern, and I have pretty much my own like room over there that I can work in, and I'm running the whole video game sound department now. Like, after living like shit for 1.5 years. That was really skipping out of things, by the way, and just speeding up. And here I am now, talking to you guys. So let's get your
All right, cool. Hey. I'm Eirik. I write video game music. Shit, this feels like in AAA. But will you do my notes?
Yeah, cool guy.
All right. So my notes say hello. I'm gonna try and keep this short.
Yeah.
My background. I grew up. As far as I can remember, I've always been interested in video games and music. I grew up with an NES in my house. I played a lot of games. I also grew up being, well, I was really interested in video game music from the get-go. I remember humming melodies from like Super Mario, trying to figure stuff out on piano. But I was also really interested in music outside of video games. I would bring like Metallica tapes to kindergarten and sit in a room and listen to it by myself. Actually, must have been a strange kid. I definitely enjoyed my own company the most. So yeah, I can't remember a time where I was not sort of en route to becoming a video game composer. So what happened? Okay, like age 9, I think, I started playing bass guitar. Moved over to like a regular 6-string guitar. Basically, it's the same story. I started playing in bands when I was like 12. I also did a little bit of Fast Tracker. That's the good stuff. What else matters? All right, so in my early teens, I played a game called Final Fantasy VII. It's a pretty good game. And I think that's kind of what's really cemented my idea of, okay, so I really want to create worlds for a living. And what I want to do is I want to write music for video games and in that way create things that people can immerse themselves in. Because I was super immersed in this game like nothing I had ever played or seen. So I immediately started like mimicking Uematsu, tried to become him. And then I got internet access at home, and I quickly just started Googling, or I guess, asking Jeeves or something. And I found a lot of people making games and making video game music. And I just started offering my services to people who were making very, very ambitious RPG Maker games, like teens.
Oh yeah,
Just stuff that obviously never came to fruition at all. But I was involved with people making games as a hobby since my early teens. And I just kept doing that for many years. At the same time, throughout my teens, I would play in bands, a lot of metal bands mainly, jazz stuff. And I also got into chiptune stuff. I started making music on, well, music that sounded like NES music at first, and then later I actually made music that would play off an actual NES, like I released an album in 2007 on an NES cartridge. That's pretty cool, I thought.
Yep.
And these things were separate, like I was doing chiptunes and I was doing MIDI music for video games. And then people, well, they liked my chiptune stuff a lot more, and then they started asking me to do that stuff for the games, which seems natural. The important thing, though, is throughout all these years in my teens when I was doing all this stuff, I met a lot of people online. And then, end of my teens, I'm like 19, the whole indie thing starts coming up. I've gotten a lot better by this time, obviously, and everyone else that I've worked with have started getting good at making games. Suddenly we have a platform to release stuff on. So it just got to a point where I was already on like the inside of this community as it came up to the surface. So I had done, for instance, I had done a bunch of games for Cactus, who recently made Hotline Miami 2. That's why he asked me to write music for Hotline Miami, just because I had done several games for free for him before. Okay, so I did just like regular school, stuff like that. Then I worked for a bit, Cactus, important. I went to sound school. I went to NIS for 2 years, studied studied sound. Whoops. No, I figured, okay, I always wanted to be a video game composer, but I don't know if I didn't have the balls or what, to just like go for it. So I figured if I can do sound for a living, that's close enough, and then I can still just like figure out music on my own. I didn't want to study music. I didn't want to be told how to write music. I wanted to figure out the creative parts. And then I figured if I can be like a sound guy, that's at least in the general ballpark area. But I'm super happy with that education. I use the stuff I learned at NIS like every day, even though it didn't have anything to do with like writing music or working games. Yeah, important.
Yeah.
We both do sounds and music, though. It's just like he does more sound design. I do mainly music. Okay, so I did sound school for 2 years, and then after that I had like a regular job. I did sound and lighting installations for a couple of years. But simultaneously to doing that and also being in school, I worked on a few big games like Spelunky. I wrote music for that and did the sound design. I did a few games for Vlambeer, such as Suhrke Box and Ridiculous Fishing. Hotline Miami came out. And it was with the release of Spelunky, actually, and I had these other games behind me as well, that I realized, okay, I can just quit my job now, and I can do this full time. Kind of intimidating by some of you guys taking notes. I really hope you're like just on Facebook or something. Facebook. What else is interesting? It kind of leaves me where I am today.
So what do you do today?
Today I've been just freelancing for like 2.5 years. just writing music for a bunch of different games as a contractor. And it's been going really well, actually. I kind of expected to live as a support struggling artist, but I haven't had to yet. It's been busy. So that's me, the condensed version. I'm from around here. Forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah. And I'm from Finland, you know, the land of polar bears and.
Joke. Jesus.
So yeah, cool. This is really planned, and
We have some notes.
so yeah. Well, like my past took like fucking 30 minutes. I'm like talking about stupid stuff. Your one was way better and more like punch. I was like flat.
I think the main difference is you like talking. I like hiding. Joonas, you sure about that?
I suck at talking.
Right, so let's talk a bit about how we approach projects and what kind of we have to figure out at the start of a project, how we tackle it.
Do you bring 2 pieces here?
What?
Approaching a project.
All right. So how do you get a project?
How do I get a project?
Go.
Wow, it's okay. The weird thing is, like, when I was talking about me, like going to game jams, going to events when I was studying, and like when I was unemployed or after school, just going into places. It was me, like, trying to find developers. I didn't care, was it like, at that point I didn't care, would it even pay pretty much. So I want to get like projects so I can show to people, yeah, I've done this and this. And like just because I want to work in game. It's the idea of making a game is like really cool. It's like if you like food, it's really cool to make food and be like, hey, I make food. What was I going to say? Yeah, I was approaching people, and it was like me either like emailing people, phoning people, which didn't really happen, or just meeting people at like events and just like being like, okay, if you have projects, let me know, kind of a thing. And then at some point, like when I got a few projects, I was making them. And then these other people that I met started making projects, and they were like, oh, we remember this sound guy. Like they saw me again at another event. They're like, I've seen you before, you did some stuff, right? I'm like, yeah, cool, we need sounds. So it was kind of, it kind of turned a bit, that people started approaching me, like, I remember you are the sound guy, like, do you want to do sounds for our game? And then it was just me going to events, people remembering my face actually changed quite a lot. I have like beard, mustache and stuff, so I'm weird.
You're loud.
Weird? Yeah, okay. And then, pretty much how it's nowadays that for a long time I haven't really like approached people. It's just like on Twitter, Facebook, emails, or LinkedIn or something like that. People are like, hey, do you want to work on our game? Because they kind of remember a sound guy. And now they see all these projects popping up. Like they see Balan, Nuclear Throne, Row Force, Swapper, and so on and so on. They're like, ah, I have this game and I want you to do sounds for it. So now it's like, this feels really weird to say, but it's like, and really cool to say that people are now like approaching me to do sounds for their stuff. So that's kind of how I approach it. Do you mean that?
No, that's good. Yeah. For me, it's like it's been the same. I had to actively pursue projects for a long time, and I still do, though. But there's kind of like 2 different types of projects. There's like new people who have not worked with me before, who approach me based on like liking my music in some other game. And there are people I have worked with before who approach me just because it was pleasant previous time, I guess. And they're happy with the results. So I have people coming back that I've worked with, and I have people coming, like new people. The difference is the new people, they tend to ask me to redo what I've done before. So they'll be like, okay, could you do music like in Spelunky or in Super Creative Box or something? which is fine sometimes. It pays the bills. But then, with people I actually have established relationships with, they don't use me based on like a specific sound or anything. They just use me because I'm me, I guess. And I try to use those opportunities to do something new. Because I don't want to be typecasted too much. Just something we talked about earlier is just trying not to become Adam Sandler, who plays like the same douche in every movie. And you need to like use these opportunities when you're working with friends, basically, to do something new and unexpected. Did you write Adam Sandler on there?
I did.
Oh, okay. But yeah, as for like starting a new project, there's a ton of stuff that you have to look into, especially like as a freelancer. You have to figure out how much work is it going to be, how long is it going to take, when is it due, what to charge, what kind of it's going to be a fixed rate, it's going to be a revenue share. Then I got to figure out the creative parts, like what kind of soundscape to use, what kind of tonality do I want to go for. So yeah, how does that relate to what you go through?
Yeah, actually, that's like approaching a project this way. Like when I have a project like brought to me, the first thing I ask as a sound designer is a sound list. I kind of always require. That's kind of how I know how much work there is. Like I ask what the game is like, what kind of audio engines we are using, like also what kind of sound systems, audio engines we are using. Like are we using Fmod, Levi's, or like play sound? You know, like just okay, you press a button, play sound, like as simple as that. Or I'm using like Fmod, which is a audio engine where I can do like parameters of like okay, I grow bigger, my sound is like bigger and pitched down.
Nice sound.
Yeah, and like with the sound list, I actually mean like I try to make developers list or designers list absolutely everything, and I will help them like fill it out. Like let's say footsteps. Okay, well, what kind of materials? Like, do you have like rock surfaces, wood surfaces, sand, snow, water, so like all of these are listed. And if it's like, yeah, but you can take your shoes off in the game. I'm like, oh wow, well, sounds for when you don't have like shoes. Like that's me walking without shoes. Like no way. Yeah, it's a bit different than this, right?
Science.
It's different. So I need to get all of those listed because I will record that. Like I need to record all these sounds, make all of those sounds, and like how many monsters, animals, whatever. So I need a list of all the sounds so I can kind of base how much time it's going to take for me to make these sounds and how much it's going to cost. If I need a sound of a tiger, like I need to budget that. So either I buy a sound of a tiger, or I go to a zoo to record a tiger, or I go out in the forest, like jungle. Yeah, in Finland we have tigers, you know, polar bears, tigers.
Or you do like everyone else and just like Google tiger does wave and then.
I don't want to do that, but like,
it's possible.
It's possible, but that's like probable as well. But like sometimes there might be a game where they have budget to fly me to Africa or something to record like an actual animal. And they're like, hey, a lion. Like this is a microphone, nothing on. I'm like, okay, could you do like a more happier sound? That was an tiger mixture. It's a tiger fence.
What do you usually have to work off though, besides the sound list? Do you always have the game? So it varies a lot for me. Like sometimes I'll get a list, like the bare minimal that I get is like a list of tracks to do, descriptions of different ones, like a spreadsheet. Then I'm super happy if I get like a screenshot of the game. I've done soundtracks without ever seeing a screenshot. And then sometimes I get the game, and that obviously results in best music, because there's so much that you get in terms of like the tempo of the music, just from the tempo of the game and the vibe. So yeah, did you always get builds?
Pretty much. I kind of need a build because as a sound designer, I also do a lot of audio implementing, like with sound systems, like F-Modo-wise. And I kind of need to test them all the time that they work. Like, okay, if let's say I have a parameter where this tiny tiger font turns into a giant one, I kind of need to test that the sounds work as well, like accordingly. So it's not like a giant tiger font actually has the sounds of the small one. I kind of need to try all these, how the randomization works and how the in-game systems work. Just I need a build, so I can just kind of try it out.
That makes sense, though. I mean, sound effects are more involved, arguably, than the background music.
Yeah, like mechanics-wise.
Yeah.
Unless it's a music game like Guitar Hero, then I guess. Oh, no, that's gaming. That's gaming. Yeah, that's true. Hey, does that mean I get more money?
Never. No, but it's interesting though, because whether or not I get like a full game or just a text document or whatever really depends on my scale of involvement with the game. Some games I'm not at all really involved with. It's just like a couple of emails back and forth. I do the stuff, I get some money. That's all right. But then other games I'm like involved throughout the process, and I even do design and like decisions that have nothing to do with the sound of the game. This also mirrors how I tend to charge. Because with these games that I'm not too involved with, it's easier for me to just get a fixed rate, pay me, and that's it, done with it. But if I'm like involved and my heart is more in it, I also feel more inclined to like do revenue share. Maybe I have more faith in the project. Maybe I just generally care more. And those projects also tend to be more like friends. Maybe I don't want my friends to pay me too much unless they're making too much. So there's a lot of these variables which tend to follow each other, at least for me. That was my point.
Oh, okay. So I'm just looking at the time and the lists. You have like 6 minutes, like 6?
Oh, yeah, I'm trying.
Oh, really? Oh shit.
All right, good.
Okay, one thing, like getting like when I like go into games, like when you get a sound designer, one of the like key things. Well, I think like so far, I mean the talks that I saw first with Ole and Anders and Ole, was it Ole? Yes. I'm bad at names, by the way. And I think like there was the issue of like communication and how communication is important. And especially like with a sound designer, it's a person who is, or a composer, these are people who are setting the tone for your game. So if you have like, you have a happiest game ever, but the music is like, that's really happy, right? Yeah, no, it sucks. Well, it probably doesn't suck, it's probably cool, but
It's probably cool.
yeah, I was thinking about it. Don't listen to me. Like, communicating with these people is really important. It's also a hard thing sometimes for me. Or like, I have this person who's like all artistic, going like, okay, I want kind of things. And you explain that to a programmer, they're like, yeah. And then the programmer is like, yeah, we do this into this. I'm like, what's C++? Is that a vitamin? Like, that was like really, I'm not that dumb, but
My experience with this is like more of, I feel like I'm pestering the programmers a lot of the time. I'm like, okay, can you put this sound in, but do this and this? And I'm like, fuck you, I'm working on the AI. It's not prioritized sound. Although I think it's getting more and more attention as of late. But almost felt bad for doing my job sometimes because it requires someone else to also do more work. So the more you can do by yourself in terms of implementation, I think it's important to know some programming, even as a sound guy. Yeah, I think so.
No, I think
Thick. Another thing though is I've done music for a lot of games which have fallen through, just like vaporware. So I learned a few lessons. And how I approach stuff now is I'll do a track or two really early on. And then that will set the mood, that will inspire the other developers. Then I'll kind of back off and let them develop the game for a year or whatever, and then I'll come back the last month and just like crunch and do the remaining 10 tracks. Because I don't want to like waste my time on stuff that's not gonna be put to use. So that's a good tip. Another good tip is always charge half up front. Then people are more inclined to actually finish something. I've definitely learned the hard way.
yeah. That's kind of how I do my, like if you're wondering how to like do money stuff with a sound designer or a composer or whatever, that's kind of how I do if it's a fixed payment. I ask half at the start, because that half usually also has like budget and stuff on top of it. And then I usually ask like 25% middle of production, and then like at the end 25%. So if stuff doesn't like pan out, then I at least get like at least half. And it's also for like the people making the game, for them paying half if suddenly I fade out, like I have your money. Like it's only half. But still, I mean, that's never the case. But
it still sucks though. I mean, even if I wouldn't start a project that I knew would fail, even if I got money up front, because getting something out there is more important than getting the money. I would say there's a reason we're in this, and it's not to get rich. And then we would be like in the banking business or something. Well, I guess.
yeah, like also paying people, like you can have like revenue share models for like certain time limit. Like let's say you're like, okay, I want to get this composer, but he costs, let's say, he's like, okay, I want 50,000 euros. I don't know how much that is in Norwegian money, like million. So you're like, okay, I'm a student, I can do that, but I'm gonna sell my game. So you can like do revenue share models. Like say, okay, we can give you like 10% of like sales for like 3 years. And probably be like, it's about like mutual risk then. And it also motivates them to do a good job, so people are like, ooh, the game sounds so good, I want to get it.
It's a good thing. I think like definitely like 2/3 of my income is just like revenue share.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I can do like 10 projects that I really like and not know which of them will actually pay. But the one that's a huge success will actually pay for the development of the rest of them. So I don't have to worry too much about whether or not projects will be financially viable when I approach them. I just pick and choose stuff that I like, that I want to get involved with, and then it just seems to work out somehow. Just if you just deliver 120% and keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah, I have a weird feeling like all the time. I'm like, I don't know where this is actually even going. Like the talk in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm just talking shit and writing.
You should definitely leave like a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, maybe we should do like Q&A now?
Are there any questions?
Like, is this stuff, is this like stuff even like remotely interesting? Like, I'm just thinking like, if you do a Q&A, I do sound design mostly, he does music mostly. Now you can like, we both work on commercial games, be it small, like indie, AAA stuff, and so on and so on. So, as students, now is your best bet to ask this shit from us.
Right. Yeah. Let's just take some questions. All right.
What programs do you mostly use for sound design?
For you.
Pro Tools. I actually use Pro Tools, believe it or not. But I have used Nuendo, Cubase, so on and so on. They're all good. I kind of want to switch to Nuendo. These, by the way, these are audio programs. Going really technically. But I'm too invested in Pro Tools. Like, I've already spent way too much money on Pro Tools systems to suddenly like jump into Nuendo. But
for me, it's more about like knowing all the shortcuts of Pro Tools and not having to think about the program when you're in there. It's mainly because I learned it in school, so I was forced to use it for 2 years, and then it's like brainwashing.
Yeah, but then again, for me, it's not really even the like as a sound designer itself. Like this is gonna sound cliche as fuck, but like pretty much probably my most important like program or tool is just a notepad. It's just not like this, but like where I actually design it. Because I kind of feel like I'm in a point where I design something that takes the most time. I'm like, okay, what do I want this to sound like? Why? How does this fit with this? And then I just kind of go and do it. But like I record a lot of sounds myself. I have like field recorders. I go outside, record polar bears, tigers, doors, walking, and stuff like that. So I guess like
I don't actually use notes. For me, it's more like as soon as I look at a screenshot, I will hear the music in my head, and then it's just a matter of figuring out how to get this music onto the computer, which is the hard part.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, don't look at this stuff. Why am I doing this?
Other questions?
When you were working on Time Miami, I mean, music there is actually from various artists, so what exactly did you do in...
Oh, I just did one track for Hotline Miami. I just did like the credits track, I
So
think.
you didn't do the sound design for
No, I wasn't very involved. It's just the kind of thing where it's one of those things you name drop just because people heard about it. I don't even list it on my website. I feel bad. I can't take too much credit for that.
No, you should.
It lets me work though, but it feels dirty.
Yeah, those are kind of like notes I do a lot. Man, that's showing it to you. You guys see this.
These are my notes.
But yeah, like that's pretty much. This takes like it will sound a bit weird, but this part actually is where I kind of use my brains the most while making games. Just planning it. How does everything fit together? Well, I kind of take the word designer really seriously. Like it's design. It's not like, well, that's a gunshot sound. That's some walking sounds there. You fucking put them together. No, for me it's if someone hires me as a sound designer, I kind of expect them to let me design. Just come on, sound design. If they want like, we just want some sounds. Then it's like.
Similar to what I mentioned though, it's like about creating worlds.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing when you're creating a cohesive universe with sounds, like designing the rules of that universe. I think that definitely that's what drives me. Design. Right, anyone else?
Would you ever consider going into a more standard model of sound design? I'm thinking you're both freelancers, am I correct?
Pretty much, yeah. I actually work at a studio, but pretty much how I work is like freelance. I get my own jobs from random people or companies and just bring them to the studio. I do the sounds there and bill through the studio. It's freelance.
Yeah, so just would you ever consider taking a job at one company?
I thought about it, but I don't think I would. I got a job offer from like Ubisoft recently after becoming a freelancer. And I thought hard about that, but mainly because it would entail moving to San Francisco, which would be cool. But no, I'm able to work on so many, like the diversity of projects, just as long as I can keep afloat. I don't see how working for someone else could be better than working for yourself. as long as you're able to deal with the challenges that yields, besides like financial, just like staying sane for one.
Yeah, I have the same, like, I mean, of course, like, also I've got like job offers from studios, but the thing is, though, like, kind of, I like working with like multiple games, like be it like a puzzle game or a shooter game or just a game where you walk in a park, like, oh, wow, trees, like stuff like that. I kind of wanted to work on all of these kinds of games, and like going into a company, let's say like a company that does flying simulator games. It's like, we want to come and work with us. I would be tied in flight simulator games, which kind of doesn't really interest me. And like right now, both of us kind of like I mean, not that we work together, but like, why not? But there's the freedom of choosing, like going like, okay, now I can work on a mutant fighting, like shooting game. That's really cool. But if I would be working, let's say, in Supercell or Rovio, I would be tied into their projects, couldn't like kind of pick cool stuff. And I kind of like the freedom, but there's two companies, like if either one of these two companies would ask me, like, do you want to work for us? It would be such a fucking hard 3 minutes.
Which ones? For me, it's definitely like Nintendo. I couldn't say no.
Well, you know, it's Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong for the rest of your life.
Well, I wouldn't dare touch that stuff, but you know.
For me, it would be probably Blizzard, because I just like their games, and plus they're cool guys, and Landbeer.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, yeah, that would be like the hardest 3 minutes of me trying to figure out how to say no.
Are we impairing?
First of all, really entertaining, and remind me to never share a presentation with you, Joonas. I wouldn't know if they were laughing at me or you. But one thing I wanted to ask is, you said suddenly you were just working on a few games that ended up being successful, like Outland and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How much of an impact do you think the sound design had on them becoming successful?
Well, a lot, of course, but like, no, but as in like seriously as well. Because like, I'm gonna take a case study of Badland over here. It was first released on iOS devices, like iPads, iPhones and stuff, iPods. And the thing is, there's a lot of games over there that, like, quite frankly, sounded like shit. Like, not saying all games, but most games. And then there's a game that actually sounds that it has like production value in it. Not upping myself, just saying that there was lots of work behind it, like just creating a good soundscape. That was like my grasp of, hey, now I have a commercial product, I must make it good. And then I put all my like heart and soul back then to the game, and it actually won like design awards and stuff, which included audio. So I guess like they were kind of like, sound was impactful for it, and people are like writing on YouTube, oh, the game sounds nice and stuff like that. So I guess like, and I've heard some people like being like, first I played it on mute, then I put the headphones in the office, got up and shouted to my coworkers, hey, let's play this game with sound, it's fucking amazing. To me, it's like the best story I ever heard, but I'm really taken by it. And the thing is, hearing these stories, I kind of feel like sound has a big impact on games. Like, think about a game, an FPS shooter game. How do you know if you can't see who, like, there's something behind you? Sound. You're like, oh, or like, you're walking, there's a door, and if it's on mute, you'll just be, okay, open, oh fuck, 20 monsters. But if there's sound, they will usually be like behind the door, and you're like, okay. Like, I don't know why I had to do that, but it's cool.
I think anyone who's like made a game and got to the point where you actually put sounds in there, it's just like, holy shit, how much more immersive did it just get? And then you try muting it, and it's just like, whoa, did I actually have it without sounds for so long? It feels so dead.
Yeah, and actually that gave me a, like, just remember the thing. One thing with like getting sounds early on in the game, even placeholders, you might find like unsuspected bugs.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you put sounds in the game, suddenly like you do an action, and it's like the sound is just like and it just goes like, and you're like, oh, so it's like always looping this action. That's why our performance is shit. Like you can find bugs like that, and like bugs in how the 3D engine works and stuff and so on. So
Pro tip.
yeah. Put like even placeholders. Just you going like if you have a shooter game, just put that on the guns or something. Just like put some guns on there, so you can kind of see if there's like loop errors or something like that, or just to get like instant feedback.
Yeah. What kind of VST plugins or sound libraries do you use, or do you make your own?
Do you use
composer?
To medium?
Yeah.
I don't use soft synths per se. I have like a rack of hardware synths actually that I use. And Pro Tools doesn't run VSTs, stupid Pro Tools. But let's see, what do I use? I use in the box a bunch of like compressors and EQ. But nothing really special, just like corrective stuff. And then as for writing music, I'll usually use a bunch of trackers, either like sample-based trackers, or I'll use trackers with sound engines built in. Like I'll use FAMI tracker for doing NES music that has that built in, or I'll use LSDJ on my Game Boy. So yeah, I hope that answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for sound library stuff, I have a similar thing, and plugins. Like this is pretty much where I do what I would do with plugins. Like I already plan what the sound is going to sound like, and then I try to capture a sound like as ready as possible. And for sound libraries,
Do you actually hear the sound in your head before you make it?
pretty much, yeah. That's
It's just like the same with my music.
Yeah.
It's just you know what you want and how to find it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like that's trial and error from like a long time of like. Because I used to do Foley stuff for like movie stuff and so on and so on. So you kind of get used to like knowing what something sounds like, or where you might find a sound like something. So like it's just me gathering like different materials and just recording them, like rock and wood effects, use rocks and woods, and then I might use like a basic EQ or compressor to just like kind of fix some stuff that I like need fixing, or sometimes I might use like pitch shifting or something for like monsters, like and then I put it down stuff like that. But like I try to get everything as ready as possible already when recording. Did that answer?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and the thing is, let's really quickly slip a small thing. Like, if you want to go into more detail, you can get here. Answer.
I like that one. Sure, I don't know if we have time.
We'll do one more question. There's one more, right? It's just a quick question. So, Joonas, best sound design in a game that you haven't worked on, and for Eirik, best music.
You answer first.
Okay. I like favorite soundtracks. Definitely like the aforementioned Final Fantasy VII, Zelda on Super Nintendo, Little Nemo on the NES. What else? Like Deus Ex. That's a big one. Your turn.
I mean, so many games have different kinds of sound, but if I have to choose sound effects wise, no, okay, sound design wise, I'm going to choose 2 games. I'm going to run with this. Okay, Battlefield 3. Like, you're like, okay, it's a basic shooter, but the thing is, most of the sounds are recorded by themselves, which is really cool already, and so much detail has gone into the sounds. Like, have you guys played Battlefield 3?
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed like a tank shooting at you and it's like, you're like, whoa, Like, it always feels nice and like, whoa, like a big tower collapse. Like, so cool. And number one, like sound design wise, I would have to say Diablo 2. Because Diablo 2, but the thing is, it's somehow like the sound effects and the music is so well tied together to create that like nice atmospheric experience by sound. Like from like, I've stolen so much ideas from Diablo 2. Like on Badland, when you get a speeding item, it's like, in Diablo 2 you have a skill that goes. But it's kind of, I didn't like steal it like 1-1, but it kind of planned the ideas because I used to play Diablo 2 way too many hours as a kid. But like, I don't choose those two because you turned into like 4 games.
If I could add one to that, I would definitely say Super Mario 3D World. Not just the sounds, but like everything about that game is just like so polished. It's like soaking yourself in magic. But yeah, just if you pay attention to all the little sounds just in the menus and whatnot, it's like, holy shit, someone cares a fucking ton about this game.
Yeah. Okay, you're adding one. I want to add one thing really quick, but this is like an inspiration thing.
All right.
And that is, I kid you not, that is actually Hotline Miami. Like, I like the thing how it's kind of, it's really punchy. That's kind of where I got my punchy ideas from. The Hotline Miami, you kick a door, and it's like, and like, to me, I like how punchy it was. And I took kind of like that punchy direction into Nuclear Throne. By Nuclear Throne, I was like, let's put even more punch. So it's like, so yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.